Hello guys, Matt from Just Wrench It here. Today we are going to do almost a complete suspension on the GMC Acadia. See in front of me, this one here is an '09. We are doing front shocks, we are doing rear shocks, we're doing the sway bar links, and on the passenger side we are putting in a lower control arm to match the one I already replaced on the driver's side when the vehicle was wrecked. So we're going to get into this today, guys. I'm going to show you how to do this at home in your driveway by yourself if need be. Always nice to have a pair of hands, but you should be able to do this, save yourself some money on the repair. These vehicles are getting older, and unfortunately the suspension is one of the main components of a vehicle that most people overlook. So let's get into the video, guys. Alright guys, the first thing that we need to do is we need to take off the wiper shroud here and the wiper blades. You may want to come along here on your wiper blades, take just a piece of whatever kind of tape you have, masking tape, whatever, just to mark where they lay so that when you put them back together, they're in the right spot. Okay, so you can use, to pop off this cover, you can use an upholstery tool like this one here. It's plastic, it's probably not going to scratch or damage anything. If you don't have this, you can just use a flathead screwdriver. Just be careful, try not to gouge anything. It should come off really easy. I'm going to use my plastic trim tool. The tab, the opening, the tab for this is right here at the end of the rounded part. So if you get your edge in there, that'll just pop right off. Alright, to remove the wiper arm itself, we need a 15mm socket. On a ratchet you can use an extension, you could get it without it. I'm just using an extension because I know I'm going to need it on the next wiper arm. Should just come loose pretty easy. Take the nut off, set it aside. There's a washer on there as well. Set that down, and then you just wanna wiggle the arm, rock it side to side, spray on a little PB blaster. So with the wiper arm kind of lifted, just rock it back and forth enough. Let your PB blaster soak on that for a minute, and it'll come right off. Now, do the same thing to the other side. Okay, once you're done, you have your nuts for your wiper arms. You might as well just go ahead and set those on there so that you don't lose them or get them confused with any other bolts. Nuts. Take your clips, put them back on your wiper arms, like so. That way you don't misplace anything while you're working. Okay guys, now that we have the wiper arms off, we're going to remove the cowl from the windshield. The first thing to do, grab 15mm or a pair of pliers or whatever you have and remove this ground post here. Next, in my case, I'm using my trim tool again. Again, you can use a Phillips head screwdriver or a flathead screwdriver or whatever you have to remove these pop rivets, I call them, from the cowl. There look to be 4 of them that I see offhand here in the front, and then there's probably some retaining clips that slide up under the windshield. Once we get these out, this whole unit should pull right out. There's a spot here with a little more room than the others. Get it in there. See why this trim tool is nice. Pop that up. Pull it out. And then once you got it out, everything just comes apart. And it looks like we're free, guys, from the front. You want to peel back. Make sure this is in my shot here. It's kind of dark. I know it's hard to see. You want to peel back this rubber on the side here where the windshield and the fender and everything meet. Peel that back. There we go. Lift it up and pull it out to the side around the hood strut. Okay, now that we have that off, you can see down in here there's our strut tower top, and that's why we removed that, so we would have access to get these bolts loose. Okay, so what you want to do this time is get yourself a 15mm deep well socket and ratchet with an extension. I'm using a 6-inch. And then you just want to go in here and break these loose. You do not want to remove them completely. You just want to remove 2, break them loose, and then we'll take them off completely later when we're ready to remove the strut. Okay, now that that's done, it's time to jack the car up. In my case, we're going to do the front, then we're going to do the rear. You want to break these lug nuts loose if you're just using a 4-way or a tire iron that comes with the vehicle. Myself, I have an impact gun that I'm going to use. I'll be able to break the lug nuts loose with the car in the air. But you want to do that beforehand. Break the lug nuts loose before you jack the vehicle up. Okay guys, now that you've got the car up on a jack stand, in my case, on the Acadia, there's an arrow here showing you where to put a jack or jack stand to get the vehicle up. And alright guys, so here we are. Now let's talk about what we got to do here. We got to remove the shock from the knuckle. We have to take off the sway bar link. Here we're going to be replacing that. We're replacing the shock. And in this case, on this side, we're putting on a new lower control arm. The first things first, we already loosened the top nuts on top of the strut. We're going to get this sensor cable for the wheel speed sensor out of here. Again, you can use a flathead screw. Okay guys, so I got the sway bar link off. I already went to the other side and I took that sway bar link off too, and I'll show you why. I already did the lower arm on the other side. I'm doing the lower arm on this side to match. You should always replace things in pairs, which is why we're doing everything in this video. I only replaced the one on that side because of the accident. The one over there was damaged. It needed replaced. So I did that to get the vehicle through inspection, and now that I know that it's good, we're doing everything. So when we go to get this lower arm out, we're going to run into this sway bar. So once you have both the links out, you can just pull that down like that, and that's going to give you access to that bolt through that bushing on the lower control arm. Okay guys, it's time for the big boys. They are 24mm on this side. They are 24mm on this side, 21mm on this side. And again, for whatever reason, I find myself without a big set of wrenches. I don't know, my garage is a mess too, so that's not helping. But this is going to do it, just to show that you can do this now. It's almost unnecessary because these bolts are splined. You'll see what I mean when I pull them out. So basically, it's not really going to turn anyway. There are ridges running along the bolt, but we're going to hold it just so that we don't strip anything. So now that you got these broke loose, keep the nuts on the bolts, tap them out. And if you want to see what I was talking about earlier with the splines, you can see these are what I'm talking about. Once it slips in there, it locks into place so it doesn't spin. And with the final bolt out, strut is free. We've gotten everything off of it. So what we're going to do is go back up to the top and get the bolts out, up the nuts off the posts up there, and then we're going to pull this out. That is, again, the 15 millimeter deep well with the ratchet. Just get 2 off first, and then once we pull the 3rd one, we'll remove. Okay, once you have the other 2 bolts off and the last one almost there, support the strut, remove the bolt with your other hand, and then slowly. Alright guys, I supported this lower control arm a little bit since I pulled everything out. There's a lot of pressure on this soft line, so let me get a screwdriver, see if I can. Okay, so to relieve some pressure off this brake line, we are going to remove this bracket from the body of the car. You could also just support this with the jack, but since I'm working on 2 sides at once, this is what I'm choosing to do. Alright, with that loose, just put the bolt back. That way there's not as much pressure on it. It won't rupture anything. And then we're going back to getting this lower control arm out. We're going for this nut and this side of the bolt. Again, my large wrenches are not really. Oh wow, do I not have clearance for this? Now the bolt's free. There are some 18 millimeter bolts right inside there, and there's some on the underside of the subframe there too that holds that whole bushing on. So we want to take that off. I don't know what you guys saw that, but the bushing is free. Now we got to get the bolt out here, and then the lower arm will be free of everything but the knuckle. Okay guys, so this is going to be really hard for you guys to see, but down here, there's a nut for the lower ball joint. Now I just have my my adjustable wrench, and I'm turning it. Now it's got Allen threads inside the bolt, but fingers crossed, up till now I haven't had to use that, and it's coming off by itself, which means that this is going to be really tight getting out of this knuckle, and I'll show you how to do that. But yeah, hardest part. Now remember, we're basically destroying this lower control arm because we're not going to be using it, right? So there's a flat spot. You see my hammer? There's a flat spot here on the lower control arm ball joint knuckle area. It's flat. It looks like some like machining, some PB blaster. A couple of taps, I felt it break loose. Alright guys, you want to support this assembly if you're doing this the way I am and you're pulling everything out at once. You want to support that so that when you get that lower control arm out, it doesn't drop and put too much stress on your brake lines and your axle and all that. So support that before you knock out the lower control arm ball joint in the knuckle, and you'll be good. Get the brand new nuts off of it, and there's a sticker here You guys can see that. That's just telling you that with this set, with the spring already on here, you don't need to do anything to it. You don't need to loosen this up. And it's also warning you that obviously the spring's under pressure. Okay guys, so with this mildly supported and the knuckle back in the strut, you're going to want to manipulate it to where you can get a bolt in. Okay, so once you got it up enough, get one of the bolts in. You want to gently kind of work that in there. We're not to the splines yet. Alright. You want to be careful tapping that in, because you don't want to strip the splines. Just gently like that. And then we are going to get it the rest of the way as it pulls itself in. Put your 24mm nuts back on. There's that click. So then we'll get the other one here. And it's already there. Maybe a little over. A little over's not going to probably kill you. Just to make sure that everything's tightened up. So now that we have that, we have to get our lower control arm in. We're going to be able to take some of the weight off of this now, since our strut is holding it up for the most part. You want to remove this plastic dust shield from the ball joint. You have your locking nut here, and this is the same way, since I couldn't show you earlier. If you look at that, there's an Allen head inside this to keep it from spinning as you tighten it. No big deal there. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is get this bushing side onto the subframe. And then we'll be able to manipulate this bushing side here, the lower bushing, into its bracket on the subframe. And then once we get all of that, we will swing it up into place and put the ball joint into the knuckle. So I got the bushing side over here in slightly, so none of it's actually in a good spot right now. What we need to do is take a jack and not the knuckle, pull it back, get the edge of the rotor here, and we want to support. Now that you've got your lower arm mildly up into place, you want to use a pry bar to help locate. This bushing side here would be the one that I want to do first. We want to locate it and just kind of pry up on it and push in until to a point to where we can get that bolt in. The bracket on this side. Okay, so now once you've got this lined up just enough, you want to slide in your bolt. You can take your hammer and just kind of tap it through. Our backside's still off a little bit. Kind of pry it up into position like that. And we're through. You can get the nut out. We can drop the nut. Get the nut on the back side. That lower control arm. Our bracket's still off a little bit. Oh, there. That's close. Bolts go up from the bottom. Apologize about the viewing angles. My camera tripod is not very compact. So, alright. We're actually pretty close. Okay guys, so you want to support this, you want to load the suspension before you tighten everything up. Don't make the mistake I made. I actually took the strut off and the lower control arm at the same time, and honestly, with the axle and everything attached, the tie rods here, it was kind of a pain to get everything back lined up as far as the lower control arm is concerned. So do yourself a favor and replace one at a time if you're doing it, or if you're going to do everything, just disconnect everything. Disconnect the tie rod end, disconnect the axle from the knuckle so that you can just do everything right. But other than that, it all went back together pretty good. So now we're going to tighten our bolts up. We have 2 bolts here on the bushing in the front. We have the bolt here through this bushing on the bracket of the subframe. And then we have our ball joint down here in the knuckle that we have a nut under here as well. So we're going to start to tighten this up. Again, I apologize, my camera's not going to be the best because of all the angles, but we'll do what we can. So I have my 24 on here still. This is gonna be next to impossible. We'll do what we can though. Alright. Nope. 21, I believe. Right? Yep. Okay. So let's get the 21 on here. We'll hold this from the other side. We are close now, so we're going to get our torque wrench set to 70 foot-pounds. There we go, torque down to 70 foot-pounds. Get our adjustable off there. Now we are going to be doing the front 2 bolts. Now what happened with the bushing bolts here is, as I said, I had some problems trying to align them up. So I put one going up with the nut on top, which is how they were. And then I put one going down with the nut on the bottom. It's really not going to make much of a difference. I actually think them hanging down is better. Probably a little more safe if something should happen to rattle loose. But for now, we will get our ratchet and our adjustable. And the adjustable's going on top, and our ratchet will be on the bottom. We are going to lay on the dirty ground. Now we are going to torque these down to 70 foot-pounds. I was wrong with the first one. Now we're going to go back to our 21, and we got to torque it down. I was wrong. It's 105 foot-pounds. Final thing that we have to do here is our lower arm ball joint. So get in here with our adjustable, since we don't have an 18mm open-ended wrench. And we're just going to tighten this guy down as tight as we can get it. Nice and tight. Okay, let the tension go. Alright guys, so we want to put in our new sway bar links. Get our nuts off. Remember, we're going to go through the bottom here and then up here and through the strut, like so. Once you've got those in, just start threading the nuts on a little. Doesn't have to be a lot. And then these should still be, these are aftermarket. Yeah, they're still 18mm. And the key here is, our earlier ones had Allen heads, like the lower arm ball joint reversed on the end for an 8mm. These have a bigger section on the back for you to grab with a wrench. I want to say it's 18 millimeter as well, but in this case we're going to use the adjustables that we've been using this entire time. We grab our socket, get on that flange in the back. Actually, not even a flange, it's straight up a hex head. So get on that, tighten this sway bar link up. We're going back to the socket on this one. The bottom I'm not able to torque down because I can't get a socket and a torque wrench in there because of the way it sets. Maybe you can. Good luck to you. Torque spec is 55 foot-pounds for the sway bar link. So torque those down to 55 foot-pounds and you'll be good. There we go, we're getting there. Now it wants the deep well. Yeah, once it gets to a certain point, it's going to want the deep well. If you need to, I went with an extension for the first part of it, but now we're getting into the final. Okay, there we go. We can torque down the top, so we're going to get your 18 millimeter on your torque wrench, adjust it back down to 55 foot-pounds. Okay, and there we are. Nope, wrong side. I was on Newton meters. There. Okay. Torque the top down to 55 foot-pounds. Hear the click. Know you're done. Okay. And there we have it, guys. You want to put your lines back in your strut for your speed sensor. 10 millimeter little guy. Put this bracket back on. If you're a cheater like me, get your 22 millimeter. Okay, guys, over here. So, yikes! Look at that. There's the top cap. There's dust cover. There's our strut. This thing is in a bad way, guys. So we have a bolt and nut up here and a bolt and a nut down here. These look to be 18 millimeter if I had to guess. And then down here they look like maybe 21 or so. But regardless, the good thing we're doing this because it's in horrible shape. Bunch of jerks. Okay, so 1815, kinda dick, but whatever. Alright, we can't fit that on there, so what we're gonna do is get that on. Our adjustable. This is a 6-point, which sucks. But what we want to do is go up with the breaker bar and down with the adjustable. Brace the adjustable against the other. Some kind of lower arm back here. And then I'm just removing the bolt. The pressure's off this. This bolt comes out easy enough. And you just wiggle it free. or you can just tap it with a hammer, and we're free. Yeah, guys, look at that. I mean, there's no return at all. We're riding on springs in the back. I mean, you see how bad that is? I'm sure, don't quote me on it, this seems like OEM setup. So this is probably original from when the vehicle was built. Now you saw the other one. It's a lot harder to collapse, and it returns on its own. That's what you're looking for, a properly functioning strut. So we have our strut here, and we have this washer. This washer is going to go in between the strut lower bolt and the lower control arm. So you're going to do like that. You want the beveled side to be towards the lower arm. Once we get that up. Now first, I'm going to get this into place on the top. Slip our bolt in, hopefully. Get our nut on the other side. And going down to the lower. The bolt goes through. We got to get this washer here. You see that flange there? This is going to sit in here like that. So get that into place. Feed your bolt through. There we go. Tap. And now we have our washer and our nut for the back side, which is going to be hard for you to see here, but rest assured it's just beyond that knuckle. Now we're in. And this is it, guys. Now we just tighten this up, and we've replaced the rear strut. It's literally that simple. Just bolt this thing back up. Now you want to bolt it up while it's still supported, while it's under load, so to speak. So just get everything you got on here. Just tighten up the bottom, then tighten up the top. And that's it, guys. We're all done with the rear strut. And that's it, guys. Pretty easy job, all in all. Given interruptions and things of the videoing nature, you could probably get this done to all four wheels in an hour, hour and a half if you really push it. Safely, barring any issues, I would say about 2 hours. You can get this job done. I bought the parts for a little over $200 on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description to those. No, I do not get money. No, it will not be an affiliate link. Just being nice, because last time I did affiliate links, nobody bought them. They kicked me out the program. So no big deal there, but I'll put those in the description if you want to find them. And get out there, guys, and just wrench it. You can do these things, fix your cars, maintain them well, and then you don't have to send them to the scrap yard like somebody I know.